This is Brandon with SYS. On today's Tech Tip Tuesday, we're going to go over how to use Google Sheets. Let's check it out.
So, what is Google Sheets? Google Sheets is Google's online spreadsheets app. It allows you to edit, share, and collaborate on spreadsheets, similar to Microsoft Excel. You will most likely end up needing to use Google Sheets for math or science classes, but you may also enjoy using it for your own organizational purposes. Google Sheets is a very powerful tool, and we will only scratch the surface of its features in this guide, so feel free to spend some time exploring it on your own. So when you get into Google Sheets, obviously one of the first things you're going to do is create a new spreadsheet. Here I have just a basic starting one, as if I've never used Google Sheets before. This gives me a few different options: annual budget, monthly budget, a lot of finance stuff, no fun. Let's just go and be a little creative and start with a blank spreadsheet. Go ahead and click in there, and you're off to the races. Before we get into how to use Google Sheets, it's important to have an understanding of some of the basic spreadsheet terminology. So let's start off with cell. Cell is a single data point or element in a spreadsheet. They're all the gray boxes in the spreadsheet, so that's a cell, that's a cell, that's a cell. Pretty basic. A column is a vertical set of cells. These are marked with letters at the top of the sheet, so you'll see A, B, C here. All of this is column A, column B, etc. A row is kind of the other side. It's a horizontal set of cells. They're usually marked with numbers, so all of this is one row, row 9, row 10, and so on. A range is a selection of cells extending across a row, a column, or both. So this can be a range right here, which would be B4 through B11. If we do this, it would be B4 through D11, so on and so forth. That's kind of a range. It's usually a little more useful with data in there, but we'll move on from there. Now, a function is a built-in operation from the spreadsheet app, which can be used to calculate a cell, row, column, range, and manipulate data. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can quickly see if I just highlight these down at the bottom, the sum is 15. Sum is just kind of counting them up. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 is 15. You can do an average across those, min, max, the highest, lowest number, so on and so forth. It's built in right there. It's very quick and easy to use when you're bouncing around in multiple spreadsheets. It's extremely useful to not have to build a formula for that. Getting on, formula. The combination of functions, cells, rows, columns, and range used to obtain a specific result. I am going to be simple here and just use sum again because now we are familiar with it. Any of these formulas you're going to build into a cell. It's going to be an easy tool that pops up when you just start it with equals, and then you can start putting in anything you want, and you see it gives you options to use different built-in formulas. Let's do sum, and it's easily built right there. And now it asks you for the range, which we now are aware of. So yeah, B4 through B8, sure, let's select that. And then I hit enter, and the sum of this range is 15, which is what we saw down here in the function before. So kind of a more manual way to do it, but that gets extremely complicated and very powerful tool. Probably won't get too powerful here, just kind of going over a top view. So a worksheet is just the sheet here, the named set of rows and columns marked on your spreadsheet. One spreadsheet can have multiple sheets. You may also think of these as tabs within your sheet, which you can see down here. We're on sheet 1, which has this data I've put in. I can hit add sheet. Now we're on sheet 2. Sheet 1 still exists with all this data. Sheet 2 is empty because I have not put anything into it yet. So it's kind of just tabs or multiple sheets within this full spreadsheet, which is the entire document containing your worksheets. Sheet 1, sheet 2, but it's all within the one spreadsheet. So I've kind of jumped ahead with a little bit of this. We know some of the terminology. We know how to use a spreadsheet, what a spreadsheet is, tabs and everything. But you're going to want to find the spreadsheet later. You're going to have to name it. So up here in the top left, you'll see untitled spreadsheet. When you start with any spreadsheet, that's what it's going to say. You just click in that and type whatever you want. Let's call this some example because I've given you an example of how to use sum. Easy, rememberable. I'll be able to come back to this later when I forget how sum works. All right, so when you first open up a new sheet, it will be blank, as you can still see here in our sheet 2 versus sheet 1, which we've entered into already. But to just kind of go over how that works, you'd select any cell you'd like, then go ahead and start typing whatever you like in. When you're done entering data into a cell, you kind of have 4 options to leave or continue on in a different cell. So let's say hello. Now we can press enter to save the data and move to the beginning of the next row, kind of just pops down. Or hi, that's pretend we're having a conversation. You can press tab instead of enter, and that'll save the data and move along the row instead of moving along the column, so we pop to the right there. You can also, while you're in the spreadsheet, use your arrow keys to kind of hop around and go where you like. It moves one cell in whichever direction that you're clicking on. And then also, you have your cursor here, you have a mouse, you can hop to whichever cell that you prefer by clicking on it. And then, hello, and then enter, tab, arrow keys. Options are limitless. So, you're obviously going to want to edit things that you've written into these cells at some point. So editing cells that you've added data to already, you can go ahead and double click into that cell. So let's go to this first. Hello. And now you can see the cursor point has moved up there. So I can start, backspace, again, and start editing right there. You also have the option, as long as you're already in the cell, so let's hit enter and pop down to that. You'll see I'm now on high, but I haven't double clicked, so I'm not typing into it yet. Up here at the top bar, whichever cell you're on, you can click here and start editing. And you'll see this top bar up here, as I click around, does match the cell that I'm in. So you can always pop up here, and that's super useful when building formulas, which we'll get into in a little bit. So real quickly, something that is extremely useful just when you're using ranges like we've spoken about, you can select multiple at a time, multiple cells. You can either use your mouse to click into this one, and you can drag, which is useful to then see sum 15 down here. I've selected this range. Another way you can do it is you can click into this, and then I can hold Command Shift down, and it selects that. So you kind of can hold Shift to select a larger range as well, if you prefer more keyboard versus mouse, kind of whatever you're comfortable with at that time. Okay, so copying and pasting within a spreadsheet for Google Sheets. This is pretty basic, but it's a little bit different than your average document with words and everything when it comes to Google Sheets. So you can, as we said, select here, and I can hold Shift, click here, and we have this range. And I can either hit Command C or Control C if you are on a Windows PC, and Command C selects that, copies it, come over here and do Command V, and we pasted it. So it's copy with Command C, paste with Command V. But another way that's kind of fun, you can see this range is already selected. Let's do it once more, drag, and the range is selected of 1 through 5 in cells F4 through F8. You'll see down here at the bottom right corner of the range, however, that there's this little box, and when you hover over that, you get kind of this crosshair cursor. You can click and hold that and drag it down this direction, and it pastes. No Command C, no Command V, no keyboard necessary, and you can do that. And then you can also do it down the column as well, like so, and that kind of just continues counting. Depending the data you have, it can vary what will actually show down below. When you're using functions, formulas, it can extend the formula down instead of the actual data in the cell, so on and so forth. It gets a little more complicated, but very useful tool, so don't sleep on command copy and pasting. And probably the most basic tutorial I'm going to give within this, deleting data within a cell. You'll never ever be able to guess, but let's say Command Shift down arrow, I've selected this range. I don't want that big long range. I just like 1 through 5. Counting above 5, it's difficult for me. I've selected it, and I'm going to hit backspace. Look at that, it's gone. That's about the only way you can really want to do it. I suppose you can select the range as well, right click, and you can start deleting cells, but this is then going to give you the options to shift left or shift up, and that gets pretty complicated when you have large data sets. So it's easier just to select it and hit delete on your keyboard. So getting back into worksheets, as we mentioned before. So this whole thing is a spreadsheet, and within it you have multiple worksheets. Sheets that you're working in is kind of a way to think about it. You can always click down here to add a sheet, add a sheet, add a sheet. Now look how many sheets I have. But what do they really mean? It's going to be hard when you're just bouncing around. What's sheet 4? What's sheet 3? Where am I keeping that data? I don't remember. So you can click this little arrow. It gives you a few options. You can protect it. You can hide the sheet so no one else can easily view it. You can bring back later, duplicate it, copy it somewhere else. But what we're going to focus on is renaming sheet 3. Let's say this is big sums. And then within that, let's just do 1, 2, 3. Then extend the range down. Equals sum. Correct. There we go. So that's just kind of a good example to be able to understand exactly where you are, what you're doing, keep all your data organized. That's kind of the point of data anyways. Okay, so formatting your sheet, you'll see here at the top of your Google Sheet, there is this toolbar of options for formatting the data within your sheet. You're most likely comfortable with this if you've been in the Google ecosystem at all. It's very similar to Google Docs or Slides. So just kind of a quick overview of what some of these buttons do. The Format Number As section right here. These options highlight the image, will add a formatting option to the numbers in your selected cells. For example, the % button will add a % symbol to the numbers in each selected cell. The increase or decrease decimal places button will add or remove extra decimal places into the number of selected cells. See? And there we go. All right, over here to the right, all of this is the fonts settings, format the text in selected cells. These buttons work very similar to font settings in Slides or Docs. So you can increase let's make these real big numbers, bold, italicize, strike them through. Those matters don't number anymore, so on and so forth. It's pretty basic stuff. So cell color and cell border right here. The small section will format cells by changing their color or adding a colored border around the cells. So let's add a border all the way around this. Let's make it a big, thick, bold one. Let's make it, here we go, kind of a magenta, I suppose. Maybe I'm colorblind. You'll tell me in the comments below. But that's just kind of the cell color, cell border stuff to have a little bit of fun with. So merge cells as well is going to allow you to combine multiple cells, making a single layered cell. So if I select this range again, only works when you have a range selected. Obviously you need multiple cells to be able to merge them together. Yes, I want to break the data. And that kind of, as you see, did break the data, but it merged this into one big cell. So this range is 4 through 8 on A. This is just B4 through B8 as one cell. I am going to undo that though. I like my data. So cell data alignment settings down over here. These settings will change in what area of a cell data is oriented. For example, by default, data is added in the top left corner of a cell. With these settings, you could center data within a cell or even make it appear at an angle. So select this range. I never really use these settings too much. Let's do this. Okay, it moves it around the cell. And to the center. Not going to use it too much, but it's a good way of cleaning up your data and making the spreadsheet more presentable. So insert link, you'll see down over here, you can select into a cell, insert link, and you can insert whatever link you want into here to make it a hyperlink to a different website within the cell. So you may have important data here that you want to reference something else to that data so people have more context. You may be able to put a hyperlink link in here with insert link. Insert comment allows you to add comments to this for if you're sharing these spreadsheets with other people and working with them. You may want to tag someone in a comment here, at your friend, and you'll be able to select them, make the comment a call of action for them that they can finish or reply to, and just adds more context or asking for more context from somebody specifically. Insert chart up here allows you to create a chart or graph based on data in your sheet. This is a pretty complex feature. Google has multiple guides on it that we may put in the comments down below, and you can kind of just build out a whole chart. Let's not get into that right now. Let's go basic. All right, so let's get back to something I mentioned at the top of the video, functions. The function feature in Sheets allows you to add a variety of calculations to your sheet. You can set functions to be calculated based on the cells in a sheet. With this, you're able to change, update, edit numbers and data within your cells that are being used by the function, and the function will automatically update its calculations based off of your edits. So I've given you an example of sum, and I've also shown you how you can just start typing in, equals s in a cell, and knows equals is going to start a function. But the other way you can do it, and I'm going to use a special function that I use way too often. So let's do name here and a name here. You may have heard this name before. So an example of why you would use this, you may get a first name and a last name data coming to you in two separate columns, but you need to be able to have that data in one column. So this would be a full name in one column here, for example. So what we can do is select this cell, come up to functions in the top, and I'm going to find within all concatenate, append strings to one another, essentially merging them. So let's concatenate L4 and M4. And you just put a comma in between them to separate it, and then you hit enter, and John Snow. And what you can also do with this one that I've learned, so right in between this comma, you'll then do quotations, space, quotations, and another comma. This essentially adds an invisible cell in between them with a space. And now you have a full name there. And that's just an example of one of the functions. It gets far more complicated than that. And I think I'll stop there so that I continue to look like I know what I'm doing. So the final thing you may want to do with your spreadsheet is share it with other users. This could be to work on it together for them to be able to view the data, edit it, whatever you prefer. I don't really plan on sharing this ugly spreadsheet with anyone, but let's pretend. So the top right of your spreadsheet is always going to have this big green share button. You can see right now it's private to only me, but I want to open the sharing tools and change that a little bit. So you just click on share and it opens the toolbar here. And you'll see you'll be able to add people and groups up here, and down here is general access. So I can keep it restricted where only people with access are able to open the link, or anyone with the link is able to get into it. And then I can choose which permissions anyone else may have. They can view it, but they cannot edit the spreadsheet. They can't create formulas, change any of my information or data, add data, or make them a commenter. It's the same as viewer where you can't make edits, but you can add comments to it. This is great for if you're working with other administrations and you want them to be able to view everything for context, but they have further questions, they can comment directly within the spreadsheet to keep it all together. And the final option is editor, giving them essentially most of the same tools you have. They're able to change anything that you've written. They're able to add to it, remove from it, add functions, everything that they may want to do, format it differently, but you still are the owner and they cannot delete the overall spreadsheet. For the most part, that is the main rule that you as the owner continue to have. But that doesn't matter too much. Let's lock it back down and let's go to people. You'll see, you'll be able to type in here and you'll see just a few options that may pop up instantly from people you've spoken to in the past. So let's give this example here. Click on Bo, and I can either make him a viewer, commenter, an editor, And then you can choose to notify people. This will email them the link to the spreadsheet and any message that you type in here. Here is my ugly, so they'll get an email with that message and the information that this spreadsheet has been shared with you, and you are an editor. Or if you just want to make a bunch of people have a bunch of permissions and let them know later on that this spreadsheet is ready for them, you can not notify them right there. And then you can also copy the link when you're ready to send it over in whatever format you want. And that is a brief overview of how to share your data within your spreadsheets.
Hey everybody, I hope that was informative. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and we'll see you next week for our Tech Tip Tuesday.